people were very cultivated. I think your first level of people who came by the end of the 18th century had a great nostalgia for France and the institutions of France and opera, grade 3 and so on, who's the first composer represented here. These were, people wanted to hear the culture. They were, homesick or whatever for France, and the opera was the major form of entertainment back then. There was a French population here that was nostalgic for things French. But the biggest impetus to that was the arrival of the Haitians, people from Santo Domingo. And I started going back into the records in Santo Domingo, which we have at Tulane Library and Interlibrary Loan. They had opera from the 1760s on, long before, decades before it came here. And it was French opera. They had 2 different cities with opera houses. They made a big deal out of opera. Furthermore, on the plantations, the slaves would be frequently taught music. They'd play instruments, violin and cello and whatever. They may not read or write, but they could read or write music. And the plantation owners played along with them because this is their enjoyment. So that was French culture there too. And when it came over here, it really added an impetus. Is it strange that revolution in Haiti was 1792? By 1796, we have our first opera and the arrival of these people. The first people involved in opera, for them, were not all of them, but many of them were Haitians, with names like Davis, John Davis, born in Haiti. And he's one of the first opera impresarios here. And Grétry's opera Sylvain, which was the first opera performed in New Orleans in 1796, had actually been performed numerous times in Haiti in the late 18th century. So I think that really gave a push. Couple this with the fact that the French, through at least the first 2/3 of the 19th century, were worried about losing their culture to the English. And so that they stressed the French contributions. It wasn't exclusively French. There were some English involved, and there were English operas and so on. But it was the French was the main thing. It kept on building, as a trace in the book. Gradually, you move from amateur orchestras to more professional orchestras, the same with the opera company. You begin to have serious criticism in the newspapers. As professionals during the 1820s and 30s. All this is building, so by the time you get to the 1840s, things are really happening. Our opera company, the New Orleans opera companies, are going to New York and Baltimore because they don't have nearly the quality what we have here. And it builds into the 1850s. And perhaps the biggest monument to that was the building of the French Opera House and opening in December of 1859.